Welcome to Live Your Passion. I'm your host, Alex Stephen from Life Transforming Treasures. By sharing the wisdoms from my life journey of raising a successful deaf child and making a life-altering decision, I empower people to transform their lives to one of freedom and fulfillment. On Live Your Passion, our guests shared their stories, their challenges, and how they embraced and overcame them. Hopefully, you could use some of their wisdoms to help you on your journey. To further this conversation and support this conversation, I have free resources at my website at alexstephen.com. This morning, my guest came all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, to be with us, to share his story, and to help you on your journey. I'd like to welcome my good friend, J.R.
Alex, it's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
And his name is Jermaine Ross Hardwick, better known as J.R.
As J.R.
And he will introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about him.
So my name is Jermaine Ross Hardwick. A lot of folks know me as J.R. in the industry. And typically, we know this old game. It's kind of the fun thing is that, I just walk around without my 10-gallon hat from Texas. And the reason for that is because I have a lot of diverse industry experience out there in the corporate world. So I'm known in quite a few different circles. And that's usually why I get the name kind of JR.
Yeah.
But I'm now the CEO of a company called Inner Circle Income Business Funding. And what we do is we help businesses achieve their dreams by helping them achieve the funding needs that they need to grow their businesses, or entrepreneurs to actually initiate the business. And we just like to kind of talk a little bit more about, how I actually reached my dream and my passion.
Yeah, and if you could just explain to the audience a little bit in the introduction, some of your background before you started experiencing the entrepreneurial dreams.
Entrepreneur dreams. So actually, a little bit of my background is I was a, kind of a career student at one point and a meteorologist. I actually was an on-camera meteorologist for a station out in Iowa, in Des Moines, for WHO TV, and actually did the forecast back then, Alex. And it was a very great time to do that, although I was in not the best market to do the show. So one of the things that I learned very early on was how to talk to the audience and things. But I was an entrepreneur at heart, and so I thought that the traditional way was that we would have to go to school and get a lot of education and get the MBA to become, a great entrepreneur.
A great entrepreneur.
Right. And I thrived in school.
Yeah.
But, part of my background as we were talking is I actually do have a master's degree or two.
Yeah.
So, but that did not give me the success that I thought I was going to get.
Yeah. But good foundation to have the education, to have that background, but to let people know that's really not where most people will realize financial freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so get into the discussion, Jay, I'll share with the audience a little bit, and let's talk about some of the ventures you went into, some of the experiences you had, so they could get a flavor from where you've been and where you are now. Okay. So we'll start.
Well, I'm a classic serial entrepreneur. I have started just about every business you can think of, from sales to, multi-level marketing to a successful consulting business to that actually, getting a little dismembered, has some issues with my partners. But I've had even real estate business to tell you the truth. Yeah. I had a lot of different businesses because I was very aggressive. And one of the things that we did was I started a consulting business with me and a few consulting buddies when I was in college. And the beauty of it is that, we were just these college guys, and we started what today you would say is like a geek squad that you go to Best Buy. Yeah. We were doing that. So we were actually going home making, we call it like Dr. Tech home house business, Our company's name was called Tweaker Technologies back in the day. So we would do everything soup to nuts. If you needed us to code, if you needed us to do whatever, and that got me through college.
Right.
It paid some of the bills. It
Right.
helped deal with that.
So that's with your IT background.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so-
And part of that, when I was doing that, I was also a climatologist. So part of what I had done for an electrical utility came and talked to us. They were in Wisconsin Public Service there in Sault Ste. Marie. They had asked us to say, hey, if you can use some of the weather and correlate that with, some programming, can you create a program application that tells us if we can buy our fuel? And we actually, I actually created that application for them so that they'd know to buy high and low sulfur coal, when to buy diesel or fuel oil, at specific times of the year, because for them it's very important, not only for cost savings, but depending on the fuel that they use, Alex, the fuel, if it was, low sulfur or high sulfur coal, it would pollute more.
Right.
And they would get dinged like $10 million.
Right.
So we, what that led me to do was we successfully had the tool. We saved them $4.2 million in that first year of them using our application. And then I was approached by their affiliate, which is Wisconsin Energies in downtown Milwaukee. And I stayed there for a couple of years, working as a manager there for that, which helped me get a strong corporate foundation,
Right.
And then I had, some public service there alongside,
Right.
So
tell us a little bit about your experience now. That's corporate. Build a foundation. You have great qualifications, degrees, masters. You wanted to follow this dream, live your passion, entrepreneur. So let the audience get, some of the insights of, it's not really a straight line going up. It's,
Right.
Up and down. And we want them to get that flavor, some of the experiences you had.
So, and you're right. So what I did was, because of that corporate success, it took me away from my dream. I felt like I was locked into that position. And whenever I tried to go out to start the company of my dreams, at that time was an expanded consulting company, it just seemed near impossible. One, I didn't have the money. Two, there were all these different, you have to have this. And then there was always the taunt, well, you don't have your MBA yet.
Yeah.
So, your clients won't find any credibility in you. And, I still was budding as far as growing the network and getting the kind of relationships across to people that I had. So I had struggles, and I just felt like I was trapped, couldn't get out. And part of the thing is that, I spent a lot of money. I spent tens of thousands of dollars to get the credentials, to do the marketing, and still didn't get the customers that I want. So I ended up basically being a jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
Just handling a job and a company at the same time,
Yeah.
and it was impossible.
Right. So then you made the decision to just
to go solo.
Solo.
Right. So I literally had to cut the umbilical cord of the company in order to pursue the dream.
Right.
And it was one heck of a ride. I'll say that. It was a very challenging issue. Even though I had raised up a lot of capital, and savings, I burned through it all.
Yeah.
I literally burned through all of it and ended up having to borrow from Paul to Peter to, just to pay the bills, work out. I would get clients and they would just basically pay the arrears, and it forced me right back into the job market, right where I didn't want to be. At that time I was, like most entrepreneurs, really, I had the thought I could do a lot of different things myself. I didn't trust a lot of people. I didn't feel, the connection. I had been ripped off on things that I I won't say that, but I would say that I've had some challenges with getting people in other companies to facilitate the services that I paid them for. So it just made it very difficult when I was out there doing business. But I knew that the ideas that I had and the companies I had would impact people in the right way. For one, I wanted to help other individuals who I knew that were out of work at a certain time get employment, but also to work with me in their company as consultants.
Right.
So often what I did was I would work, but it would just be enough just to help them out.
Right.
And I couldn't really achieve that dream of getting them where they needed to go
Right.
at that particular time.
So you had some failures, but that didn't stop you.
No.
You kept going, and you had a couple ventures that fell, that didn't go through. You want to share with the audience so they're probably going through the same thing, and share with them some of that experience.
So the consulting company we were speaking about, that failed.
Yeah.
Okay. Once I had, because of those constraints, my partners and we decided to disperse. So that company failed, and what I did was, I had to, pull in the bootstraps and go back to work. I went to work for yet another firm. At this time, I ended up at the likes of Coca-Cola. Worked there, built up some income, built up some equity, and ran across a few mentors out there in some circles on how to do real estate. So I saw some synergies, had a few houses that we actually, did some good transactions with, flipped and, did some rehab work, and we were successful at it. And that was around the 2005, 2006 area. We were starting to come up, so I'm starting to feel happy. And I'm like, finally a venture that's going. I've got contractors, I've got my A team, I've got, a lot of things lined up, and we were booming, we were growing, Alex, and things were starting to work. But again, one trap that I had, I tried to do it all myself, but it was working. So I didn't have anything that was telling me, stop. I was happy with that. Then we started getting the challenges when the bubble had burst.
Yeah.
And then that was 2006, 2007.
7, 8, around there.
Around that time. The lending and some of the banks had dried up, and things got really sour, and a lot of people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
And while we kind of held on to that for some time, it just kind of it was a difficult struggle.
Yeah.
We're trying to make sure we pay the bills. We were holding houses longer. Things just weren't coming out the way we had thought they would. So when that tanked, again, I was driven for the third time back into the job market, right? It was always this up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill. And, my fire didn't stop to get me to where I am today. So today I run a successful funding company.
Right.
And what got me there was, I sat down, like we have our discussions and things. I sat down and I talked to a lender, bank loan officer, and I just told him what it was, and he invited me to come in and talk with some other gentlemen on a networking circuit.
So the thing is, we sharing with the audience that it was not an easy road.
No.
You never gave up. Sometimes we have to take a step backward to go 2 steps forward. And by that I mean you probably have to go back to corporate just to have the income to survive.
Absolutely.
But you still had that dream and that passion in you.
And that's what's got to carry, Alex. I mean, that was the thing. I never let that flame die.
Yeah, never let that flame die. So if you could share with the audience some of the things you did to turn it around and finally taste success. We'll get to that where you are now. But share with the audience. I'm sure they want to hear, what did JR do to change things around? So if you could tell them how you did that, some of the steps you took.
Yeah, and part of that was, initially it was prayer. I definitely, I'm a very faithful man. But I had to take an assessment of what I was doing. I had my long and short-term goals spelled out. They always say that. I had that. What I didn't have is I didn't have an action plan on it. And, everybody says have an action plan and do all of this stuff. Well, I was a manager, and it's kind of like, it's difficult, like the doctor. It's difficult to self-medicate myself. I could look at someone else's business and map them out. But for me, it was difficult to do that. And one of the things that I learned to do, which was difficult, was seek help. I mean, literally sit down and not just ask, like, okay, how do you do this or how do you do that?
Yeah.
But have a conversation with somebody, tell them what my background was, talk to them, and explain to them what my challenges are and what my goals are. Right? Because I was afraid that if they thought that they would think, we don't want to be seen as failures, right? We don't want people to see our weaknesses. And we shy away from people that are critical of us. But it's essential. Being able to open yourself up and allow others to kind of critique you that you can trust helped.
Yeah.
And I found somebody that was willing to hear my story and acted as a mentor that really wanted to help me out.
Yeah.
And the other part of it was I do my homework. I research. There were times, Alex, when, I would be down, if I had some downtime, I used to love going to Barnes & Noble and Borders and sitting there and reading about every magazine or book about the trade that I was looking to get into.
Educate yourself, self-education. And you brought up a good point there. And my mentor, Les Brown, one of the things he said is that when you're in the frame, you don't see the picture.
Right.
And you always need someone looking from the outside,
right,
to give you that, you call it critique, and that's okay. And you have to learn, if you want to be successful in business, you have to learn to accept the good and the bad, and you got to discern what it is you want to, what you want to use, basically. But you have to get people, if you want to call them coaches, mentors, get into a mastermind group, but that will help you. People who doing similar businesses or businesses, you could talk about, how you advertise on social media, how you market, how you do things. So you get ideas, and it's give and take, in the mastermind groups.
And we like to take, but not get the gift.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as you were saying, it's part of that, right? And I fell in love with what I had. And that, put me in this wall of protectionism. And, I wanted to, cradle it.
Yeah.
And you can't. You have to be able to be willing to have a critique, because it may be a good idea in your mind, in my mind, but not necessarily with someone else.
Yeah.
And that was part of it. And being able to go out and do some of that fundamental research.
Yeah.
And by research, it's simply understanding what other people wanted from this. What was it going to be for them? The question that I learned to put together was, and the one that's in my mind, what is this? What is the benefit to you, right? I may have all these great services, but I need to be able to present it in such a way that is, what is the benefit to you, and how will it impact you and get you to your goals?
Right.
And when you've answered that question, then it's likely that you have an idea that other people will be able to latch on to.
Right. Right. So those were some of the things you did, on how you turn things around.
Right.
So you said, you pray.
Yes.
You got a mentor. You did research, educate yourself. Anything else?
Well, so there's activities, right? A lot of these things sound glossed over, like, okay, I get that, right? But you have to take. What I did was I scheduled out my activities. So I'm working, 48, 70 hours a week, per se. One of the things that I definitely had to do was schedule it in, right? To run and to start getting your own business on the side while you're working takes a lot of time. It may take an additional 20 hours of your week.
Yeah.
You have to pencil in the time, and you have to have activities that get you some goals. So for one thing is, we would look for what goals we could have. I would prioritize those to, okay, long-term goal. I want to have, the finances, I want to have these employees and things of that nature, and then look for tasks that were short-term that would get me to some of those goals closer, and what we would call getting some of the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know one of the things that one of my mentors tell me is to take a look at your schedule every day and look at your IPA. And I was like, what's my IPA? He said, your income producing activities.
That's right. That's right.
You want to look at that, because we get caught up in this production, we want to produce this, we want to do this. There are certain, but you got to prioritize. There are a lot of things we have to do in terms of networking, going to seminars, conferences, educating ourselves, keeping up, with the product itself and what the market is looking for. But one of the things which is key is what are your income producing activities for the day.
Right.
You have to have that discipline to stick to that.
Right. And you make a great point, because there was something that another tool that I used, that something I didn't do. I didn't turn it off. You have to shut it down from time to time, right? In order to be productive on those income producing activities, you have to have times when you've taken yourself out of the picture, turn off, get out the house, go enjoy yourself with family and friends, find an activity, read your Bible, whatever it is, turn yourself off so that it allows your mind to rest and you can refocus. Many times when I did learn finally to do that, and it's a hard lesson because my mind is constantly stirring about these ideas, what would happen is I ended up being approached, found something new, or discovered something that I didn't even think I was going to come across, because I turned my mind off to it. And then before I was able to turn it back on, I was like, wow, I just noticed this one thing. And then I was able to have an even more productive IPE.
Yeah, and that's key. You have to take time to sharpen your axe. You don't just want to keep going and going. You may look busy, look productive, but in the long run, you don't produce that much.
And another one is being careful about the individuals that were mentors, right? The person that always agrees with you is not necessarily the person that needs to mentor you. And the person that is, or the people that are constantly negating and being very critical of you are not necessarily. It has to be a good balance. And the way you judge that is have them explain to you what's the benefit of them in helping you, right? Just see what the benefit of it is. Or are you doing that mentor or somebody some benefit, right? Always be in a state of giving, and folks reciprocate.
Exactly. Yeah. And you brought up a good point, JR, about asking for help. And there are different ways you could get help. You could pay somebody to be a coach. You could ask somebody in your church, a friend, a family, a neighbor who might have some experience in whatever you're looking for, whatever challenge you have. And I want to say to the audience, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Asking for help is a sign of strength, because you're aware of where you are, you accept where you are, and you're looking to move towards your goals. You want to live that passion. You want to achieve those dreams.
And you got to look at them like, okay, you go to the gym, you get a trainer, right? You may be overweight, or maybe you don't have the strength, or you just need somebody to tone you up. You talk to that trainer, you interview them, and they run you through a routine, and they help sharpen your edge, right? The coach for your company, for any activity that you do, needs to be like mine. It's not weakness to go get some help.
Right? It's not. So, it's I know you've come through a lot, down times, up and down, and to let people know that that's the journey. Not every successful entrepreneur you see has been there all the time. They've been down. They did different things. You have to tweak things. You pay to learn. We talk about that. We had that discussion. You think this is the right person or right company to help you, and then I don't look at it as being ripped off. I look at it as an education. Not all of them come true for you, but you don't want to give up. One of the things I say is that, I tell my wife, I say we're going to get bruises and, little cuts here and there, and we put Band-Aid on it, but we don't want any major breaknecks or broken bones. So you have to be, you have to discern what you're doing.
And like you said, it's counting your blessings from me, right? I had gotten to such a low point that all I had to my name at one point was a couple of $1,000s, and I was living on somebody's couch. And it wasn't even my own apartment.
Right.
I mean, I was down, and that lasted for 3 years. So I went from really grinding the wheel. At one point, it was so bad, the market was so bad, it was out of money. I had my dream, and the best that I could do was get my car. And literally, when people called me up, I became a carpenter. I literally learned a whole new trade.
Yeah.
I went and I started doing framing. I was putting up woodwork. I was painting floors. I did whatever it took and saved up the money.
Stay in the game.
To stay in the game.
Yeah.
And then when I got myself on my feet to a certain level, and at the same time, I didn't wait to the end. I still talked to them. I still called and talked to people, told them what I wanted to do.
Because you had it here.
Because I had it here.
Yeah.
And even though, let's say, I wasn't in a state where I wanted to be, where, I've got, thousands of dollars, and all this, and everybody's looking at me with all this importance, I held my integrity.
Yeah.
Right? I could still talk about what it was because I was very knowledgeable about the subject matter. And, they would say, well, can you do this? No, actually, I can't because tomorrow morning I got to go put somebody's window in or something of that nature. People understand, right? They will understand. The thing of it is, it's not a game that you're just out to get the money. Just keep your eye on the prize, the money will come.
Yeah, make the impact, help people. And one thing I want you to share with the audience is, the question I'll pose to you is, did anybody ever tell you you're crazy to follow your dreams?
A whole lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard it all, from you're not worth anything.
Yeah.
My girlfriend broke up with me. That's why I ended up on the couch.
Yeah.
And, and just said that I wasn't going to amount to anything, that I was, that my flame had burned out and I was a has-been.
Yeah.
And I didn't take heed to that. I mean, it was hurtful. We broke up. She went and got married to somebody else at the same time. But I didn't let that stop me. I knew what I had. I knew what things were going. I knew that, as long as I'm given breath of life to live, I've got another day to get this done.
And be in gratitude. And that reminds me of Les Brown. One of his stories is what he was sleeping on the floor in this building in Chicago. And his girlfriend at the time broke up with him. She said, you broke, you're not going anywhere. All you have is a dream. And he said from the time they broke up, that same week, he got a $5 million contract.
That's phenomenal right there. So things like that do happen.
Yeah, things do happen. So you got to keep, sleep on the floor, sleep on the couch, but don't ever give up on what's in your heart.
And you know what made me not give up? Was because the clients that I was servicing, because I had it in my heart that this is not what I want to do, but as long as I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the best job I could.
Yeah.
It was the warmth from their hearts of seeing that somebody took the time and care to do a good job for them, that eventually it paid off. It paid off directly, and it paid off indirectly in ways I didn't know, because individuals would say, hey, JR, I called, so-and-so about what you were planning on doing, and he would like to talk to you. So I ended up with my loan mentor, with the financial mentor that I had because of that. I had no idea that they would do that. It was just purely, I was happy that they were a satisfied customer, because if I'm going to do anything, I want to do it right.
Do it right. And that's the, you got to keep in integrity and your character, and things will work out. So share with the audience, JR, where you are now. We went through the challenges, how you came out of it. Share with them where you are now, so you could give them some hope and courage and wisdom to help them with their challenges.
And that's exactly the point. We see a lot of individuals that are struggling today with businesses, and I've consulted with them on from IT to program management, different things. And one of the biggest challenges that they had is just raising the capital.
Right.
They know their business well, they know their products and customers well, or maybe they need a little bit of shaping it up. But one common area we saw was access to capital. And one of the challenges that I had in growing my business was doing that thing. That was the reason why I would talk to a financial mentor. It was funding that dream that became such a challenge.
Right.
And that can kill it right off the bat.
Right there. Yeah.
Right off the bat. And then, as you said, the people that negged, oh, you'll never get enough money. You need $2 million to do what you're going to do. Who's going to give you? They've got 50. Look at this guy on. You know, they would show me show. They would send me shows.
Yeah.
See that guy right there? He wrote his idea on the napkin and got it. You know, he worked at this IT incubator.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? Who do you know?
Yeah.
Right. And it always seemed like I had to know like J.D. Rockefeller to get some cash.
Yeah.
But what I did was I went and created a business plan, had it honed, paid the money, did the time, had the business up, made a great presentation, went to the bank and totally, how should I say, impressed them, right? And then the following day they called me and said that the bank got a new policy and they're not going to give out any loans. So can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I went from $2.5 million that I was going to get for this business. It was this one was a logistical business. It was a bus company to run shuttle students around in Chicago at the magnet schools. And I went from that. The day before, we were told all I have to do is just sign on the dotted line. I come in the day following, and a new loan director came in and said, "No, I'm not doing any of it." So it hurt. I mean, it does hurt. But one of the things I found out is I said, I have to know how this game works. I need to become educated in how to be financing. So I studied. It took me the better part of 3.5 years and a significant amount of investment and time also with a financial mentor to not only learn, but to get myself into a credible state in what we call a lendable or bankable state. So we learned those tips and tricks. And what I did was I started to share them with other individuals to get their companies financed. Just shared it, just hey, this is some things that worked out for us. Make sure your credit's right, but don't just look at it from your credit score, because what the banks look at is they look at a whole profile, the amount of time that you've had your cards or your open revolving accounts, the balance, like certain things of that nature. There were a lot of different dynamics and steps in there. A lot of people didn't know. And even when they had like, oh, I owed all of this and, I got these delinquents, we learned from some of the best, and I practiced it to get myself into a state at my company and then help others get themselves there. And what that did was that actually kicked off something I didn't even think I was going to deal with. And that's when we formulated Inner Circle Income business funding to help companies. So one of the great things that we do now is we help build relationships with those companies to help them reach their dreams. And it's not just about, because everybody's thinking about the money, but it's really, what do you want to do? What's the story that you want to tell? Because when you start a company, it's not just about here's money, here's a product, give me the cash. There's a story that you tell. Those brands that have stayed for a long period of time, like Coke, McDonald's, or any brand that you like, they tell a story to the consumer that keeps them coming back and forth over and over again.
Yeah, and I myself have been a vice president director in London for a major bank in the Boston area. And I had the large corporate companies, multinational, the middle market companies. But what I enjoyed most, gave me the most gratification, was working with the small businesses. To see these business owners with their dreams and how much 500,000, $1 million will shift and create employment, get their products out there. But like you said, it's the impact they want to make. They're not just in it for the money and the joy it brings them when they get that financing. So to see what you're doing, it gives me a certain amount of joy that you helping these small businesses, entrepreneurs, because that's a big killer.
Right.
The funding, and I mean,
sometimes that's
fact.
The killer of the dream before it even becomes
before it becomes, and that's where you and your company in a circle
Inner Circle Income business funding.
Business funding comes in and playing that vital role. So I think it's great. I myself, I like the concept. It's working. You've come a long way, and it's really impacting lives, and that's important. Not only are you living your dreams, but you're enabling other people to live their dreams and their passion.
So think of it. If there's an ambulance, there's a company that it does transportation for individuals that are elderly, or it's a special shuttle service, and they started with just their own vehicles, right? And the vehicles need maintenance. They need to expand their fleet. They get more drivers to service their customers right. And when you see the individuals and the good work that they do, they're not doing it for the money. They're actually doing it out of kindness of heart to help, but they really need funding to grow and maintain and keep it.
Yeah.
And when you've able to help them achieve those funding goals so that now their customers have the lift vans that they need and it's more comfortable, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Because you see that helping individuals. Now, if I think about my grandparents are, my grandfather's like 101 and my grandmother's like 97. Right? Now they're still like spring chickens, don't they? It's unbelievable. I mean, the blessings that they have that they keep walking. But if they ever needed that service, and they do, because my grandfather gets vertigo real bad.
Yeah.
That service is there to help them.
Yeah.
Right? Those are things that help in the community. That has nothing to do with the big capital dreams, but when their business grows because they're able to service more individuals, they will get the money.
Yeah, the money follows you when you make an impact and a difference.
And it tells the story, and that's what people want.
That's what people want, yeah. So, Jar, is there anything else you want to share with the audience, or any nuggets, wisdoms you want to leave them with? Definitely.
Yeah. For one, don't let individuals knock your dreams off. Be clear though, but be open. Really analyze what it is you want. Make sure you answer the question, what's in it for them? Always ask that question, who are you looking to serve and what's in it for them? Make sure that your business is angled towards that. Even if it's, let's say you're HVAC, whatever, you're in an established industry. If you look at it from that vantage point, you will find your niche, you will find your purpose, and people will resonate with your message, and they will want to be enjoined with your company. The other thing is, don't let the money be the issue. 9 times out of 10, people have, my clients have overinflated what they thought they needed based off of something they saw or read or something else. Now, you can do all the research, but if you answer that first question first, and then you sit down and have a real heart about what it is you want to deliver, then you can start to balance yourself as far as just fitting that balance, right? And don't try to eat the whole elephant. Take small chunks at times. Right. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. All right, and get professional or personal help. Sit down and talk to people that are willing to have a discussion with you about your business. Right? Get the coach. Have that conversation. And another great thing that I didn't mention this earlier, I went out. I networked. I went to meetups. I had discussions with people. And what I did was I was more available to listen to what they had to tell me about their ideas than they wanted to hear about what I had. If you open yourself up to listen more to what other people's dreams are, then they're going to open themselves to you. And it's not you're not having a, little fit, trying to do that.
So that's great. And, what JR is saying is network, get a mentor, get a coach, ask for help, and keep that dream alive. Sometimes you have to take a step backward, to move forward and go back into corporate, so to speak. And that's fine, but keep that dream alive in your heart. And, it's been great information you share in here, JR. I really appreciate it. And one of the things I like to do on the show is read the quote of the day.
Okay.
And for my inspirational life quotes, a collection for your daily
That's
motivation.
always helpful.
Yeah. So let's see what today is. Okay. The quote of the day is, "Heaven is a state of mind, not a location." Wayne Dyer. Okay. So that's this from the Inspirational Life Quotes. I'd like to show you the book our entire family wrote, Courage in Our Hearts, A Family's Love Story. forward by Les Brown. And all our books are on Amazon. And Discover Your Inner Treasure, which is the accompaniment. And there's my granddaughter here on the cover.
That's definitely a winner right there.
Yeah, winner right there. And this book, talking about winners, just won an award, Celebrity Educators Award, IEP Goals Made Easy. My wife Raz and I wrote this. So these are the books we have. And there are free resources on my website, alexstephen.com. Where you could get more information. And JR, before we go, how could people contact you, your website, your email, if they want to contact you after this conversation?
Sure. You can get in touch with us. My personal email for the folks, if you need advice or you just want to contact me, is jr@iciadvantage.com. So I'll spell that out as Charlie, Isaac, advantage.com. The website is www.iciadvantage.com. We're giving away a free report. We're going to have a very good special coming in February, so we're getting a lot of stuff together. But definitely get in touch with us with that way. You can also give me a call at this number, 404-855-4560. And an alternate number will be 404-477-4129.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gerald. This is great information. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it. And I'm your host, Alex Stephen of Live Your Passion, and see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Production support provided by Medfield.tv. Access to our community.